Hey everybody, Mac to Monster, back with Marvel Heroes. And this time I got Iceman, and I got his level 60 build for him. I call it the Iceman Cometh. Of course I had to. And so for his build, it's a pretty straightforward build. I love it. I love Iceman. And we're going to do 20 points into Frozen Orb, 20 points into Frost Nova. Um, 20 points into Frozen Orb is going to give us the AoE that we need, and it's going to freeze everything in sight, making it slow and eventually freeze together altogether. Um, the Frost Nova, of course, is going to give us damage. It's going to give us crit rating. The endurance is going to be all right. Um, I'm going to do 20 points into Ice Golem. That's going to give us the Bruiser Golems. They do more damage, so I'm going to take them. We're using ranged abilities. You could, if you wanted to, just use Icy Arsenal and summon the Snowball Golems. If you want to use Snowball Golems, you could also use a ranged, summon two Bruisers and have one Snowball, or you could have two Snowballs and one Bruisers. You can mix and match as you want, because you're going to be doing 20 points into Construct Focus, which is going to give you two additional Ice Golems, so that's going to be 3, and they're going to last 10 minutes, so they're going to be around long enough. That's also going to give us a big chunk, almost 40%, 39% summoned ally damage right there. This is without any gear on right now. 5% extra damage when we hit with a ranged power, so we'll take that. If you're doing hybrid, you'd actually gain another 5% damage if you did ranged and melee. Just an idea, but this is going to be full ranged. I don't feel a need to go for the 5%. We're going to do 20 points into Ice Block. This is going to give us damage negation, projectile deflection, defense rating, tenacity, and an invulnerability automatically activating on defeat should we be defeated. I just do it for the defense really, and the projectile deflection helps offset that. You can 1 point it if you wish, and if you want to take another skill. I don't see what other skill would really be useful. Maybe the ice wall, but I like to keep things simple. 20 points into absolute zero. This is a signature. The signature is pretty awesome. It's high energy damage twice per second. It lasts for 5 seconds at least. It's on a 45-second cooldown. It's kind of long, but for the entire duration, you're also invulnerable. So it's pretty sweet. The only thing that's kind of a downside is you can't pick when you land, and you can land into some stuff. So you may have to, be Johnny on the spot of skipping out of some cosmic circles if you got landed into, the wrong place. And then we're going to put 20 points into Work of Art. This explodes for some decent damage, but more importantly, it pops up another pet that taunts and immobilizes enemies. This is going to do some damage. It lasts for a little while. It applies 5 stacks of chills to everything in the area. It's on a 12-second cooldown. Now, this one taunts, and Construct Focus has an active effect. So when we have our 3 Ice Golems out there, especially with the Bruisers, they're going to stay melee. The Snowball Golems will stay melee as well. They'll usually charge in there. But when they're in melee, we hit the active effect, and it does energy damage twice per second, and that lasts 10 seconds, and it does a little bit of area. It really has to be close to it, so everything that it's close to, it's going to take that area damage. I mean, the area damage is probably smaller than the inner circle of this teleport pad. And the taunt duration is for 5 seconds, so that 10-second cooldown. So it taunts everything as well. So I tend to hit it on cooldown, although sometimes, in a boss fight, I'll wait till they're at least near the boss so they taunt them, and taunt the boss and have aggro on the boss. It's real handy. Like Curse. You want to make sure they're taunting Curse and keeps Curse attention so he doesn't jump on you. And then finally, the rest of the points, even though I don't use it too much, go into Frozen Lance, so you can shatter anything that's frozen. Everything will be frozen with this build, so you can shatter on demand if you want. like I said, I tend not to. I tend to use the CC, especially on trash, and just keep them in control and let them die their own miserable death frozen. And bosses, they will take 5 stacks and be frozen. However, they will not be subject to the frozen effects of being immobilized. They still move around and do everything that they're supposed to do. You can shatter them for the extra damage though. So that's the build. And then I just put the frozen orb on my basic attack button, my left mouse button. I have, do I have the right one? Yep, snowplow on my right button to get me out of places. I keep confusing snowplow with snowblower. And then I put construct focus, my energy damage and taunt on the 6th button. On the 7th button I have my med kits. I have work of art on number 5, and I have my signature on number 4, and then frozen lance, which is my shatter, on number 3. Like I said, I don't use it too much, so you might want to swap those around if you're going to shatter things. On number 2 I have ice golem. I only have to summon them usually once a terminal because they last forever, 10 minutes. And then ice slide on number 1 because I'll just use my pinky to slide fast. I tend not to have to do that unless you're really speed farming like curse or something. And that's how I have it set up. Now for gearing, I do have his full kit, and seeing how we're summons and direct damage, I kind of went 2 different ways. So first off, let's go with his gear. I got his Age of Apocalypse armor. This is his slot 5. It's got pretty decent defense rating. It's a little low, 1380. But it's got 1790 health, 280 crit rating, 1000 critical damage rating, some 9.8% projectile deflection. Now this is nice. When you hit with a range power, gain 1 energy and 97 damage rating with range powers for 6 seconds, stacks 2 times. So that's 2 energy and basically 200 damage rating. That's pretty much. I mean, that's a lot. That's pretty good. When you drop below 50% health, gain 1700 defense rating, and your health regeneration increases by 326 for 5 seconds. That's But this has got +6 ranks to all Iceman's freezing beam powers. So that's nice, because we are using Frozen Orb, and this one has +4 to Frozen Orb. Original X-Men boots. Again, it's kind of low on defense, 1400. 1300 health. It's got some move speed on it. 319 crit rating, 152 brutal strike rating. Those are really good. 24% summoned ally damage, not too shabby at all, because remember, we're running the hybrid of allies and our own damage. When you critically hit, gain 223 damage rating versus shield targets, and your powers cost minus 8.8% for 8 seconds. So that's actually pretty nice too. You should critical hit quite often, and that buff should be up permanently. +2 ranks to all powers, +2 ranks to work of all art, +2 ranks to Iceman's chilling construct powers, and +1 rank to Ice Golem. So those are all pretty handy. X-Men leather trench coat. This has got a better chunk of defense, 1650, 284 energy damage rating. Like that, 1475 health, 347 brutal strike rating, 691 brutal strike damage rating, 5000 health regeneration per minute, 22.9% summoned ally damage. That's nice. 17% chance when you hit to realize your potential, gaining 1 to all attributes for 10 seconds on a 30-second cooldown. After hitting with a shatter power, your next 5 attacks gain 441 damage rating. +2 ranks to all power. And +5 ranks to absolute 0. So that's pretty useful right there. X Factor bodysuit. Big chunk of defense. 2200. 1770 health. 63 spirit. 8% attack speed. 11% power duration. You take 3% less damage from energy powers. When you take damage, deal 5,890 energy damage to the attacker. For the next 10 seconds, gain 486 damage rating versus this target. And that's just when you take damage. That's pretty sweet. When you hit with an area power, gain 131 damage rating and take 1% less damage from area powers for 5 seconds, stack up to 3 times. So we are hitting with an area power all the time, by the way. That will be hitting all the time. So we're going to take 3% less damage from area powers. Plus 2 ranks to all powers, plus 5 ranks to ice block, and that's really, and plus 5 ranks to Iceman stance powers. There's basically 3 different stances, and we're using construct. And then the Age of Apocalypse spiked fists. This has 544 energy defense rating and 700 damage rating. When you hit with an energy power, gain 122 defense rating and 88 damage rating versus chill targets for 5 seconds. This stacks 3 times. When you reach 3 stacks, gain 418 damage rating versus frozen targets and plus 1 energy for 10 seconds. That's probably going to be up permanently also. 733 critical damage rating, 785 brutal damage rating, plus 1 fighting. 3.2% chance to ignore range damage when attacked. Plus 6 ranks to all Iceman's icy weapons powers. And that's all that's really useful to us. Okay, so for a legendary I went with Gugner. There's a reason behind this. Because it's a summoner type, I'm going to be buffing summoner as well as my ranged damage. So the critical hit is important, and so the critical hit damage becomes important, and the brutal strike chance becomes important. So the proc on this, the crit rating on this, and the critical damage rating on this all pay forward for the build. Plus, if I decide to play any different style of Iceman, I have a weapon, a legendary, that plays well with the other style as well. The other choice is Cosmic Control Rod. I just didn't feel for this build the Cosmic Control Rod paid out enough. For other builds it may, like if you didn't do a summoner build with him. However, the Gugner, just, there really wasn't a choice with going any other way. I really felt it was strong, and I usually don't like Gugner. So armor, alternate reality relics. Obviously we're going for that summon ally damage. And now for his costume, I'm using the modern costume. I went all health as usual. I like to go defensive, especially while soloing. You can do all crit hit. I would do crit hit instead of crit damage. Or you can do a combination of the two depending on how much crit you already have, because you're going to buff the pets with crit hit and brute hit. Critical damage doesn't carry over to the pet. But I got regenerates 25% of your health, and I got 100 spirit on medkit use, and I got become invisible for 3 seconds when you use a medkit. Now normally on characters I really like, and this is what I really like, I would use become invulnerable for 2 seconds on use of medkit, but because I'm using a pet build, and I really like the pet build, I use invisible because it drops all my aggro and all the pets will pick up the aggro again. So that's why I went with invisibility over invulnerability, but either one will pay off really good for you. I got ranged River of the Soul going. That's going to help recoup some spirit. This does cost a lot of spirit, 14.2 spirit, frozen orb. So we got to recoup that. This is going to give us 6 spirit, and that's going to make it cost 8 spirit. 60 spirit to our max spirit, 6% power duration, and minus 6% power cost. Don't forget, we're going to get some more power reduction on something else. So that's going to bring it to 13.1, so that means it's 7.1 spirit per second. And frozen orb doesn't give us a casting speed, but I'm pretty sure it's almost 1.5. For the insignia, also notice I went with ranged arrow. Reason I went with the ranged arrow is because I have the 3 pets, always taunting, always out there. I'm staying back. I feel pretty safe. Um, so I don't feel I need the extra defense on a defensive Earl. You can go ahead and take a defensive Earl if you want, or if you're going melee, I would suggest a defensive Earl. Um, However, seeing how I'm ranged, I just took the extra damage. I did an Insignia of Nick Fury. Basically, when you use the shield med kit, it summons a shield tactical agent. But on this one, when I use any power, you and your allies gain 12% summon damage and 1 intellect for 8 seconds. So if you look at intelligence, that's going to give us 60 crit hit rating. Actually, I think it's 120 because it's time 0.5 per rank. Or is it 30? Either way, I don't know why it's so confusingly written. 180 critical hit damage rating, and 8% summon ally damage. Oh, I see what's going on. So it's going to give us 4% summon ally damage for the one. It's going to give us 90 critical hit damage, and it's going to give us 30 crit hit rating. That's what it's going to give us for that one intelligence. So that's going to help buff our pets as well. This one's got 1380 health and 87 spirit. Then I got a Cosmic Ring. It's got 920 health, 486 brutal strike damage rating, 91 crit rating, and 109 damage rating to ranged powers. +1 rank to all powers. And I'm leveling this pet, and this has almost no use at all for Iceman. Sorry, I'm kind of stumbling around, but it's pretty late here. I'm staying up just to do the videos. I'm using a Magneto Was Right t-shirt. This might be hard for some people to get, but I think I bought this for like 1 or 2 blessings. So if you're not finding it as a drop, I'll just buy it on the trade circuit. 1 or 2 blessings is pretty cheap. This one lets you take 3.9% less damage from enemy mental powers, who cares, but it's got 122 crit hit rating, 5% projectile deflection, 249 damage rating, 399 damage rating to range powers. This is range power. We're using a lot of range. And 109 brutal strike rating. He's got so much crit on him, the extra brute is very nice. Using advanced Phoenix Feather. I don't have a Black Tom Shillelagh. That'll probably be a little bit better than this if you got a high roll. Otherwise, this is probably just as good. Gives you another revive if you're defeated. Gives you some energy defense, movement speed, and 514 energy damage. Also, I went with that over a Pluvian Superconductor because that does area and this does energy, and it just seemed better all around to have energy instead of area. In case you do a different build, you already have the artifact used and you don't have to swap out artifacts and tie it down and then unbind them. I'm using a Mole Man medallion. This one's got 2% chance to summon a Moloid Leaper to fight alongside for 30 seconds on a 1 minute cooldown. 9% XP, 161 energy damage rating. That's one reason I took it. It's got energy damage rating. And then +2 intelligence. So that's going to buff my pets again. I'm getting more summon ally damage. So now that we're at 4, you can see we're at 16 summon ally damage, 120 crit rating. Hand of Nimrod. These are pretty easy to get. They drop in Midtown and they drop in X Defense. You can usually pick one up for 1B on the trade circuit. But the big thing about these is it recovers 3.2 spirit when you hit. So that's going to give us 9.2 spirit, and that's going to start costing 4 spirit every time I cast instead of that whopping 13 spirit. 295 damage rating to range powers, 6.7 attack speed. And then finally, we borrowed this from Squirrel Girl of Armor Alternate Reality Chaos Portal. This gives us 880 health, gives our allies 32% summoned ally health, and it gives us 43.3% summoned ally damage, and a 1% chance on hit to summon a random being from an alternate chaos reality to fight alongside. Multiple beings can fight alongside you at one time, lasting 20 seconds. So, as you can see, with the artifacts and the medallion and the insignia and the ring and the Uru, we've kind of swathed back and forth between buffing the pet and buffing ourselves, so we do equal damage amongst everything. So the pets are doing really good damage, we're doing really good damage, and all together we're supplementing each other. And show you how it works. We'll go destroy Cosmic Dr. Octopus. That's exactly what's going to happen. Oops, Cosmic. So to start, I just shoot off an orb. I summon my 3 bruiser golems. They didn't even go into the fray. And we'll just get the bounty hunter tracker up there so you can see it's cosmic. So everything is dying pretty fast. When the blues and yellows pop up on the trash, that's when I tend to hit the construct focus to do the dot damage. Fully buffed, it's 20,000 twice per second, so that's 40,000 damage a second. Oh, we hit it dead end. You're going to see a lot of extra pets pop out because of that Chaos Portal and the Moiloid Medallion. Something to keep in mind is your pets have a chance to proc it. As far as I know, it's a smaller chance to proc, but all their hits do have a chance to proc. Let's see, we still need 20 or so. Now, even if you get a boss that comes up with a bubble, a range deflection bubble, these pets can destroy the boss on their own. See, the pets were off dealing with other mobs. They summoned up this work of art here and let it deal with the extra ads that came through at me. That's where it comes in handy, is when you got too many ads, too many mobs coming at you. Your pets can't deal with them. You can see these guys freeze up in like no time. Use my work of art, use my signature. I already let the pets taunt once. Put the work of art back up. And that Dr. Octopus was absolutely devastated. And that's what life is like as Iceman. And I love it. Absolutely love it. This is so good. So, that's the Iceman Cometh. Hope you enjoyed. Hope it helped. And I'll talk to everybody real soon.